What's cracking, everybody? XehrFelrose here, bringing you some Pokemon Go Badly content. Today's video, taking a look at some fun in the Great League remix with a triple fairy team run by Julio MC02, running that Astonish buffed Mawile, Shadow Mawile. Looks very interesting in this meta. Very curious to see how the meta works out with triple fairy. I haven't played as much of the Great League remix myself. And if you've been following my streams lately, I haven't been doing well no matter what I've played, so I'm curious and very excited to see someone else do well with a spicy team like this. So let's get into these games here. Appreciate you, Julio, for sending in these battles to us today. And if you'd like to send in some games or battles to the channel for Shoutcasting, there is a link in the description and in the pinned comment where you can go ahead and fill out a Google form and send those in. But anyway, let's get into the games here as we've got our first battle with Mawile on the lead. Into a Steelix, you could not ask for a better lead. The opponent is staying in as well. Those triple resisted Dragon Tails here. Only thing that really needs to be watched out for here is going to be a Earthquake. The opponent not even building up to Earthquake. Julio knows he gets to let this go. Psychic Fangs does pretty nominally no damage here, but looks like the Mawile can just go for a farm down. Going for that power-up punch instead. Maybe trying to cut the opponent off of getting a move here, but they shield instead to get the damage off from this move. Could be a crunch, I think, possibly. Going to be that crunch, slightly heavier hitting, and even though it's all the damage is resisted here, Mawile is pretty frail when it becomes a shadow. So the opponent now coming in with a Clefable. They are not having any fun with this Mawile. This thing is core breaking the opponent's team. The opponent going for the player of Kaboom, and the Bastion's gonna get just, you know, they might have had a chance with that Bastion, but good game. You love to see it. That's how we start off the videos, baby. Getting into the next game, we got a Mawile against an Ariados. This is a pretty decent matchup for Mawile because all the damage from this Mawile, or all the damage from the Ariados here is going to be resisted. But honestly, over time, anything will add up, even though it's not necessarily a good matchup for the Ariados. The other, on the flip side, all of Mawile's damage is also resisted here. So we're really just focusing on the Astonish damage that is going through in order to win this matchup, which Mawile should be able to do, especially after a couple of power-up punches. Those Astonishes are going to start really putting on some hurt. So we're going to just have to see how the opponent handles this one here. They're just going to, they're just going to get to a move. And that's, it's very close, right? When all the damage is resisted, it all comes down to the fast moves, and we're constantly lowering the attack. But the opponent is going to come in with an Umbreon safe switch here. And honestly, this is exactly why, it's not this exact scenario, right? Poliwrath does a lot of damage, but, this is kind of why I think that Umbreon is not as effective in the Remix Cup. Just because there's so many things that beat it, right? There's just going to be there's plenty of fighters. There's other dark types that kind of do the job better, to be honest, like Guzzlord. And then you've also got the fairies, which are very common in this meta. So opponent's going to come in with a Cresselia, but it's a Shadow Cresselia. Now we come in with the Weezing, hoping that maybe the opponent is running Grass Knot Moonblast. Grass Knot makes sense in this meta with all the Mud Boys going around. But now we're going to have to see if the opponent's got Moonblast or Future Sight. Going for, no, we're going to let it go. Thinking about it, shields up, it's Future Sight. Oh, and that's the worst case scenario, quite honestly, because these brutal swings are just not going to be enough to get the job done. The opponent will be able to get to another Future Sight here. They've burned both shields to keep this thing alive, and now this is just, I don't think there's any way out of this game because the damage that comes from this Togetic, not going to be enough. Kaboom! Taking out that poor little Weezing. I forgot to activate my button before I started, so we're doing them all manual today. Aerial Ace gonna chip down the Cresselia, going for a Hail Mary boost on this Ancient Power here. No boost to be had, though, I don't believe. No boost. I can always just call it because the chance is so small. I haven't watched these games yet, but Future Sight nearly gonna take out the Togetic, but gonna go down to the fast moves. It's gonna be a good game. Getting into our next game here, Mawile versus Drifblim. This is actually a pretty good lead because the Astonishes are super effective. And look at him chunk the Drifblim, but the Drifblim is chunking right back. Mawile is going to go for a power-up punch here and try to start doing even more damage with those Astonishes. The opponent knows it's a power-up punch, lets it go, but oh my goodness, the damage. Julio shields up. The opponent has a shield advantage, but they've lost the lead. Opponent straight sends that Shadow Ball, and then comes Swampert. We get to the Poliwrath. No, we go down with the Poliwrath. That's actually awful. But in comes Togetic. It didn't really matter here because you need the alignment with the Togetic. Absolutely have to have it because Weezing is also weak to ground. And it's a Sludge Wave Swampert! Oh. Oh no, my goodness. Okay, in comes Wheezing. Now the opponent has a call to make. Do they call that this Wheezing has overheat? Do we just let the moves go? Do we bait? I don't know. Let's find out. Because an Earthquake is goodness gracious. This game is going out of hand right now, dude. What is happening on my screen today? Bruh. Nobody's running Earthquake, I guess, but gonna be able to get the last second overheat in. The opponent has a call to make here. Do they think this is a Brutal Swing or a Play Rough? Or it's an overheat and it takes him out, kaboom! And Swampert's gonna come in, but now there's so much energy on this Togetic. Even the Sludge Wave put it low, but those Mud Shots, this Swampert will never be able to farm this thing all the way down. So Aerial Ace is here. We gotta find out, are these Aerial Aces going to be enough? That is the question. Aerial Ace number 2 coming out, getting pretty low. The Swampert's getting very close to being taken out. The opponent is trying to farm up to 2 Hydro Cannons in order to take out this Togetic. And now it's a race of the fast moves. The Fairy Wind goes through, and that's going to be game here as we shield up the first Hydro Cannon. The opponent is not going to be able to survive the fast move. It's going to be a good game. Well played. All right, getting into the next game. Mawile on the lead versus a Shadow Gligar. Blast from the past year with this Gligar. No one's seen him until it came back for Remix, quite honestly. It's okay in Remix. You know, you don't have to worry about a lot of the things that kind of beat it, like for Alligator, right? That pacing is kind of gone. So Gligar is actually okay, but definitely not something that I would recommend playing if you want to climb. I don't know. It just doesn't seem very good anymore because its main 2 moves being Dig and Wing Attack just got nerfed, and it just doesn't feel as very good. It doesn't feel as good to play anymore. Opponent's rocking Sand Tomb, though. Play Rough is going to go out. This is a Shadow Mawile. Let's resist it. How much is this Play Rough going to do? Almost all of it. That's it. All right. Oh, Mawile's not going to be able to get the farm down, unfortunately. Those Volt Switches will take it out. In comes the Shadow, or not, in comes the Wheezing. Not the Shadow. Where did they get Shadow from? Wheezing's going to take a Sand Tomb that hardly does anything. And in comes the Gligar here. Now the opponent, again, okay, we're going for the Brutal Swing. Julio might be counting that they might be about to get to the Dig, wants to fire off this move. Is the opponent counting? Or they just want to keep the Brutal Swing from hurting regardless. Shielding up something here, we're going to have to. Aerial Ace not going to do anything here as we get the shield. Brutal Swing should actually be close to being enough. I don't know. Non-Shadow Gligar is pretty, it's pretty bulky, to be honest. But we're catching, does we catch a Dig? Oh, bro, if we caught a Dig, that's going to be wild. I think they just go for the Aerial Ace because of how low the Wheezing was. Yeah, just go for the Aerial Ace here. And the opponent's got a Poliwrath in the back. Opponent is glued to the old meta here, and you're going to pay dearly for it. Poliwrath is not going to be able to stand up to the might of Togetic here, unfortunately. Even if this Icy Wind is going to knock out, Wheezing can get some energy and then get these moves off into the Gligar. Doesn't matter. Double resisted counters don't even matter. No, sir. Aerial Ace is going to knock out the Poliwrath. Could have over-farmed here a bit just to make sure that the opponent's Gligar wasn't able to get to a move. But we're safely able to swap out, get to this Brutal Swing, and that should knock out the Gligar here. Very good game. All right, next game up, we got Shadow Mawile on the lead here versus a Scrafty. Whole team's going to be doing great here, but the opponent's staying in. Now they find out that they have the Astonish. They know that they can stay in, and the opponent comes in with a Venusaur. Venusaur? Do they call it? They think it's a Brutal Swing. PV pokes his Play Rough. Overheat lands. Kaboom! Taking out the Venusaur in one shot. And in comes a Skeledirge. My chef, my king. Skeledirge is going to have to take these Brutal Swings, though, and unfortunately, there is still a Togetic in the back, which is going to make absolute misery out of the Scrafty. Now, we could have gone for 2 Fairy Winds here in order to maximize our energy gains, right? Because you can go for 2, 4, or 7 when it comes to going into the Incinerates, depending on how many they throw. So you'll be wanting to go for example, now here, for example, all right, let me break this down, because Incinerate counts are tricky for a lot of people, right? So every Incinerate's 5 turns, right? So if you have a 2-turn move like Fairy Wind, if you throw 2 Fairy Winds, that's 4 turns and throw your charge move. That's the maximum you can throw before they get that 1 Incinerate. If they throw 2 Incinerates, you can throw 4, because if you threw 5, that would be on alignment. They'd sneak an Incinerate through. Or you could throw 7, which basically cycles back to the 1, where you go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then 6, 7 right before the 3rd Incinerate finishes. Now, the reason why I said that this one was good was because the Incinerate would have knocked out, so going for just 1 and then the move guarantees that the damage does not register on that 4th turn because you're only throwing one. So you're guaranteeing you get that charge move in instead of the damage registering. So that would hopefully that makes sense. That would be why I would say that this was a good call here. Now, Togetic's going to come in and can go for the Ancient Power, and Mawile with 2 shields is easily getting to a play rough against that Scrafty, so I don't really think that there's any hope for this opponent here as we go for the Ancient Power. Opponent going for another move. They have a ton of energy on this Skeledirge, but they can never swap in. 1, 2, perfect timing by Julio here, going for the Ancient Power, and we're going to be able to do quite a bit of damage. Probably won't knock out. Never mind, it knocks out. I was kidding. And he comes to Scrafty, and the Scrafty has no hope, and they concede the game. Well played. Overload Fairy strategy works until you see a Mudslapper in the lead. I would probably cry. But we have a Tropius in this game. No Mudslappers to be found here. And we're resisting all this damage as a Steel type. But Mawile, again, is pretty squishy. The opponent going for that Leaf Blade right away here. Leaf Blade does quite a little bit of damage. It's about, I would say, 30-35% here. And those Air Slashes are adding up. Weezing's going to come in trying to catch that Leaf Blade. Unfortunately, unable to do so as the opponent goes for this Aerial Ace here, which will, again, do a little bit of damage. And then they come in with a Water Gun Lanturn. What is this thing doing in my swamp? Get out of here, you stupid fish. I thought we had seen the last of you, but apparently not. Going for Brutal Swing after Brutal Swing, just trying to pressure the opponent into either shielding or forcing them to throw their energy here. This is fine, though, because this keeps this away from the Togetic, which its main source of damage is going to be from Aerial Ace, because that's got that same type attack bonus. So, you know, also not having to worry about taking a Thunderbolt is also nice for the Togetic. So I imagine we probably just see the Mawile come back in, do a little bit of farming here, maybe throw a move before we get to the, before the opponent gets to another charge move, just to make sure. Excuse me, and then a Play Rough will definitely guarantee a shield back. We're able to get the farm down, but there's some frame drops. Man, get those frame drops out of here, dude. Niantic, fix your game. And yes, there is a state of the game video that I've been working on. I just haven't been able to get around to working on it yet, but it's, I've got footage, but like, there it is. Like, it's almost in every single video you see it. Frame drops and lag and everything, dude. It's just, it's miserable. This game is so poorly put together, and there's no word from the developer. There's no anything that gives us any possibility or any sign of it being ever fixed, which is just atrocious, man. It's atrocious. Aerial Ace, not quite enough after the Icy Wind, but getting that farm down. The opponent has the Tropius, and unfortunately not going to do much into the Togetic, and that's going to be a good game. Well played. All right, rocking and rolling into the next game here. We got Mawile into Guzzlord. Again, the whole team just completely dunking on the Guzzlord, and they have the audacity to run a safe switch Moltres. Man, I wish I had a Galarian Moltres. I don't have one yet. I wish I had one. But everything on this team so far does very well into everything on the opponent's team. So, opponent going for a move. I don't know if this is enough for the Brave Bird, but I imagine that it's just an Ancient Power. Now, do we stay in? I think we should probably swap out at some point. Maybe, no, I don't know, but we're going to go for a no shield here and bring in one of the other fairies, I imagine. There's really no bad alignment here. I would say, I would have almost said we could bring in the Weezing here, just for the fact that we would want to be able to get any potential ground types in the back away from the Weezing. However, this works just as fine. Ariados in the back is going to put a damper on things, though, but with a shield advantage, there's a solid chance that we might do okay here. Now, Trailblaze and Lunge are both going to be resisted here, heavily resisted. So that's going to be good news for Togetic here as it goes for the Aerial Ace and looks to try to take out this Ariados. And then at that point, Weezing, even though all of its damage is resisted into the Guzzlord, has a very, very easy time because they have shield advantage. Opponent's probably not going to be looking to get that Sludge Wave off. Looking to catch a move here and reset the debuff on the Togetic, though. And that Lunge is, again, going to be double resisted, and the opponent brings in the Guzzlord. Realizing at this point, they may have no hope. They decide to, no, they're still going. Okay, never mind, they concede. I was waiting for it, man. I was waiting for them to concede, but good game. All right, getting into the next game here, we have Mawile on the lead versus a Galarian Weezing. This is a pretty good matchup for the Mawile because you do have the Astonish damage, and the opponent's probably not running Overheat, but I do believe that it's worth respecting here, so perhaps we see a shield. Julio's going to go for the shield. The opponent shows they have Play Rough, and that's going to be easy enough. Now, Play Rough can... Play Rough is not going to be something we need to worry about here. Now, once again, Timing is something I'll point out here. We did go for 2, and then the move, the opponent did get a free fairy went through, which if we had gone for odd numbers, right? So if you're 3 turns, Mud Slap, Astonish, etc., into a 2-turn user, you just want to throw on odds. And there's an Ursaring, bro. Oh, hold on a minute now. We are cooking. Ursaring in the arena, taking, oh my god, the damage from, oh my god. There's so much damage, dude. Power, we gotta shield power-up punches, dude. Oh my goodness. The amount of damage the double resisted Astonishes are doing right now. Mawile is going on an absolute rampage in this game. Look at that damage, man. What? Okay, they go for the Swift. It's going to be enough to knock out because it's still Shadow Mawile. But we're going into the Weezing here, and the Weezing is not going to be able to get to this move here because it would be only 5, I believe. It's 5-4 to the Swift. So going for that Swift, the opponent's able to get some damage in, and the Weezing is unfortunately going to be stuck in a CMP tie that it does not win. Gonna go for the Brutal Swing, no charging, hoping for some extra farm, but the opponent's got a Whimsicott, but that's okay because we have 2 really good answers to Whimsicott on this team, and we're gonna go for this Aerial Ace here. Gonna be able to do a lot of damage to the Whimsicott. I don't even think a Moonblast is gonna knock out, and they would have to get to 2 to even think about knocking out the Togetic, and then Weezing just comes in and goes for an Overheat Moonblast, laughing it off, and the opponent's going to concede here, and that's going to be a good game. Very well played. Very interesting team. I'm not confident that I would have the same results, but it looks like a really fun team. I think the real takeaway here is that Astonish Mawile is a heck of a core breaker in the Great League Remix here. So if you have one built, maybe try TMing it to Astonish and see how it goes for you. I think you could do a lot worse in this meta than a Shadow Mawile with Astonish. But anyway, this team looks very fun, I would say, especially with the amount of darks. I would certainly be careful with something like Nidoqueen, or, you saw the poison types, right? Mawile does pretty well into those poison types as with the Astonish, so as long as you can keep the poisons away from Weezing and Togetic, I feel like you do fine here. So that's going to be it for today's video, guys. Thank you so much for watching. We'll catch you in the next one. Bye-bye.